What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today, we got to talk some Digimon today, ladies and gentlemen. I've been at the Battle Spirit Saga launch event over in London, and while I was here today, turns out Digimon went and dropped news. And like I told you, I'm still going to be here for the big Digimon news, alright? This is the biggest Digimon news. This is the biggest Digimon news that I think we've had since the inception of the game. And I've been chatting to people about this and, trying to make sure I'm not being hyperbolic when I say this, but no, seems that this is in fact the biggest Digimon news since the game launched. The introduction of ace cards, including Garurumon and Metal Greymon. And ladies and gentlemen, I am not exaggerating when I say to you, this is huge and probably like the biggest thing that we've actually seen in the game so far. This is absolutely huge. So, I don't know, let's start off with Metal Garurumon because I don't know why not. So, Metal Garurumon then, what we've got is a 6 cost to play, 3 cost to Digivolve, 11,000 power, level 6. And the first thing to note here is a 6 cost to play normally level 6, that's not a lot. That's really low. That's like weirdly low, ladies and gentlemen. Very, very weirdly low. But there's a couple of skills here as well. You can evolve it as a free cost from a level 5 with Garurumon in its name. Now, obviously, it's a free cost to Digivolve from a level 5 normally, but this is to say any level 5 with Garurumon in its name, whether blue or otherwise. So it can basically cheat in terms of using different colours for Digivolution, which is kind of a big deal, but not the biggest deal here. It has a rather lovely skill that on Digivolution, you can trash up to 3 cards in your hand, gaining a memory for each card trashed. Trashing cards from your hand, generally not great, although there's always, decks and cards that like having cards in the discard or revolve around it or play from the trash, whatever. And gaining memory is always good. But I think probably the big thing we've got here is counter blast evolution. This is huge. You may evolve one of your Digimon into this Digimon at no cost. Yeah, you can Digivolve for free, ladies and gentlemen. You can Digivolve for free. But what's counter? We've seen on play, we've seen on Digivolve, we've seen on deletion, etc. What is counter? It's a new step in the Digimon TCG. Now, I was chatting it through with a very good Digimon judge, Adam, earlier, and he was basically explaining it to me that we've got a new step in the attack phase, which is counter. You resolve when attacking effects, and then counter comes in. Now, as it stands at the moment, the only counter we've seen is Blast Evolution. That's all we've got so far. I believe all the other cards I'm going to show you just have that. And Blast Evolution in and of itself is a big deal, right? Being able to evolve for nothing, being able to evolve during your opponent's attack. So essentially they go to attack, and then you evolve up. And of course, with Metal Garurumon here, don't forget that when you Digivolve, you can gain up to 3 memory. Which means that if your opponent's got 1 or 2 memory, they attack. During the counter step, the brand new counter step, you blast Digivolve, trash 3 cards from your hand, gain 3 memory, and then it's your turn again. Obviously, we've seen this in Digimon since the beginning. This is an old ruling at this stage. We know that the attack resolves. You don't get your turn immediately. If you've got a skill or your opponent's got a skill that puts the memory over to your side, you still have to resolve the attack before you actually get to your turn. But this is still a gigantic deal, ladies and gentlemen. A truly gigantic deal. The introduction of a new step. And of course, Digimon has been a game up to now where it's, I play my turn, you wait. And then you play your turn and I'll wait. This actually introduces playing cards on your opponent's turn, which is actually something we've been doing a lot with Battle Spirit Saga this past weekend, which is kind of interesting. So this is a very big deal. This is something which has been, well, it's huge. It's absolutely huge. But there is a downside. Overflow -4, which incidentally we do tend to see on all of these ace cards for fairly obvious reasons. When this card is moved to the battle area, or from under a card to a different area. I should say Darren Riviera is the person I'm getting these translations from over on Facebook. I've checked these myself, but that's where I got them from initially, and where I'm getting the phrasing from. You lose 4 memory. Basically, when the card leaves the field, whether it's as a card or as a Digivolution card, you lose 4 memory immediately. Now, this is a big deal, because we've seen things in the past with Digimon where there's basically been a skill, but you can Digivolve out of it. And then you're not the level 6 anymore, so you're fine. Not the way it works here. Even if you're a Digivolution, if you leave the field, if you've Digivolved from this, if you leave the field, you lose the memory. And that's basically the counterweight here. You can Digivolve for free during the counter step on your opponent's turn. Yay! But that is with the downside that you then lose memory when this leaves the field, and that is obviously a pretty gosh darned big deal. There is one more skill we've got here, which is when you are attacking once per turn, trash a card in your hand to delete one of the opposing Digimon with the lowest level, which is a really good skill, incidentally. It means you're going to have to low Digimon, not big Digimon, but it is actually really important to note that this is when you're attacking, which is a good skill, but it doesn't really help with the whole counter malarkey. And given that both of these skills involve trashing cards from your hand, I think we need to look for this when we see some of the other cards that are coming in this new starter deck. You have been warned. So that's one of the ones we've seen. The other big boy we've seen here with this mechanic is your War Greymon Ace. Now here, and they do seem to have an ace in... Yeah, they have ace literally in the name. So if you look at the name of the card there, it literally says War Greymon Ace. So the name of the card literally has ace in it. That's a very big deal. And what this has here is a play cost of 6. Again, very low play cost. That should stand out. We've got an evolution cost of 3. And we've got 11,000 power. So pretty big beefy card, frankly. Now, we've got a skill here that says it can Digivolve from any level 5 with Greymon in its name for a free cost. Again, just like we saw with Metal Gromon a second ago. It's got the same counter blast evolution, and we don't need to go into a lot of detail about that. We just talked about this at length, but it's the same kind of deal. During this new counter step, which is after you get the when attacking effects on your opponent's turn, you can Digivolve this up during your opponent's turn. Cannot overstate how big this is. And then you've got blocker. And then on all turns, once per turn, that's yours and your opponent's, when either player's security is reduced, you may unsuspend this Digimon. Now that's actually redonkulous, because firstly, I can attack, and then if I reduce their security, either with this attack or with another attack later on, I get to unsuspend to get another attack. And on my opponent's turn, you get to block because you're a blocker. And then if at any point they actually reduce your security, you get to unsuspend and then potentially block again. So the idea of being able to block twice on your opponent's turn while attacking twice on your turn is a big deal. And again, it's really important here that this whole blast evolution is a counter that's happening on your opponent's turn. Because what that means is they go into their turn thinking you have a certain amount of blockers available, and then all of a sudden you Digivolve up for free on their turn into a new blocker. Oh, that is amazing. This is big. It's then got overflow -4 again, so when it leaves the field, in any way, even if it's been Digivolved from, this still totally works. As a side note, and we were told this, Ace, although it is in the name, let's be clear, it's written there in the name, the game doesn't consider that part of the name, which is important for some Digivolution if you have to Digivolve from a certain kind of card. So if you've got to Digivolve from Metal Garurumon, for instance, this will still count. Also important to note, this has been clarified, counter timing, as I've said, it is after the when attacking effects resolve, but before you declare a block, which is obviously huge for this War Greymon here, because it means you can blast evolution into this, and then immediately block with it, because you do counter, you get your blocker, and then you get to the, well, you got to, get a blocker. You got to, if you want to use one, you got to declare it. but then you've got one on the field at that point. That is absolutely huge. Now, you might be wondering, Wossy, where are these cards actually coming in? New starter decks. We have a pair of new starter decks featuring these cards that are being released in Japan on the 26th of May. So, exactly 2 months. Literally exactly 2 months from now. This is a very big deal, ladies and gentlemen. This is a very big deal indeed. These starter decks are completely changing the game. And the thing to remember, and I cannot stress this enough, it's not just the fact that you've got these Blast Evolution now. That's kind of cool, that's kind of big. It is the fact that this is just the introduction of the counter step. And as time goes by, we're going to see more things coming in here. And that is extremely important. It's not just for what we can see now, and this stuff's all well and good. It is the fact that in the future, this counter step is still going to exist, which means there's going to be so many more options that players have for playing around with this. That is a very, very, very big deal indeed. Now, we did see a couple of other ace cards as well. I think fair to say they are not quite on the same level. I don't think that's being mean to say so. But we have got some others that we're going to run through nice and quickly. We're not going to spend a huge amount of time on these because we've kind of talked about the mechanic as a whole, but we still do need to talk about these cards. So let's start off with Digimon Ace. And what we've got here is we've got ourselves a lovely 4-cost to play. 8,000 power. You can't actually see the evolution cost here, which is honestly kind of annoying, frankly. Seems to be covered up. Presumably it's going to be a free cost, but it doesn't actually show it on the artwork, which is kind of weird and a little bit annoying, if I'm honest with you. Sorry about that. And what we got here with Digimon is counter Blast Evolution, as you would expect. On play, or when Digivolving, trash any 2 evolution cards from your opponent's Digimon, and then return an opposing Digimon with no evolution cards to the hand. So this is very much a case of, like we've seen with Blue from the very beginning, get rid of some of their Digivolution cards, and then, hey, there's one that's got no Digivolution cards, let's get rid of them. It's also got Overflow -3, so the second this hits leaves the field in any way, shape, or form, it's gone, ladies and gentlemen, it's gone. And then obviously you lose the memory, that's the important thing here. We've got a Magnarangemon Ace coming in here. This is your level 5 yellow. 4 cost to play normally. 8,000 power. 3 cost to Digivolve. It's got Counter Blast Evolution, like I say, they all do. And when playing or Digivolving, if your security is 5 or less, i.e. unless you got more than you started, Recovery +1. Oh yeah, and then each of your opposing Digimon get -1,000 power for each of your security until the end of the turn. This one to me again seems a little bit busted, because essentially what you're doing here is recovering on your opponent's turn and then potentially nerfing all of their Digimon at the same time. This one seems a little bit ridiculous. And we got a Lilymon Ace coming in here as well. 4 cost to play, 8,000 power, 3 cost to Digivolve. And you got Counter Blast Evolution. And on play, or when Digivolving, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, and then you may return a suspended opposing Digimon with 5,000 power or less to the bottom of the deck. Again, huge, because, and I can't stress this enough, this is happening on your opponent's turn. So if I'm using this and, evolving up on my opponent's turn, I can then immediately suspend one of their Digimon that they were hoping to attack with to try and win the game later. Oh, and both Magnarangemon and Lilymon both have Overflow -3. At the moment, and I can't tell you whether this is going to carry on or not, I'm sorry. But essentially, what we've got here is the Blast Evolution on the counter step, which is brand new, and an Overflow, which is essentially how you end up paying for it down the line. Now, weirdly, I didn't see a translation on the Facebook page of the Metal Greymon Ace, so I'm going to do this one myself, so forgive me on this one. But I'm pretty sure, and again, they're covering like the whole card, which is a little bit weird here. But what we basically got here is it can evolve from a card with Greymon in its name for a 3 cost. And it's obviously got the Blast Evolution, which is important. And when you play or evolve, you get to choose one of your opponent's Digimon with 6,000 power or less. And I believe that's delete them. I think that's delete them. I hope so, ladies and gentlemen. I hope so. Again, I can't quite... This can I've got here is not perfect, so I'm doing my best on this one, but that's what I think we're rolling with here. And I told you this is huge, and I mean this is huge. This is the biggest news in the Digimon TCG since the release of the Digimon TCG. The introduction of these ace cards is cool, but the introduction of a counter step, which now means that you can actually do stuff and play cards on your opponent's turn. This is a very, very big deal, ladies and gentlemen. A very big deal indeed. But now it's over to you guys. Tell me what you think about these. Tell me how excited you are. Tell me anything you want to tell me in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wasi. That's where we talk about, well, a whole bunch of card games, including Digimon. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus pods, join a Discord, all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wasi Plays.